Hey, welcome to another edition of Kyle Meredith with. It's the interview series presented by WFPK at WFPK.org, Consequence, and the Consequence Podcast Network. Thanks as always for making your way here and checking out the series. You know what to do. You like what you see, what you hear, hit that subscribe button. Put out 3 new interviews every single week, so it's a great way to keep up with your favorite artists. I'm always so excited to be talking with this next artist. I've got Chaz here, Toro y Moi. Hello.
Hello. Thanks for having me.
Oh, it's great to see you again. You've got a brand new record. Am I saying right when I say Mahal? Is that correct?
Yep. Pretty straightforward. Yeah.
And as usual, I am completely in love with the sounds you're making and the world that you are kind of creating in this right here. And maybe that's where we start, actually. There seems to, if not be a complete concept, at least a loose concept that follows along with a lot of your records. In this one, even there are the little audio pieces that put some of the songs together with a radio static and the tape hiss. Did you find that you were trying to create sort of a bigger picture this time around?
I think I paid more attention to those little details like that. And I think that's something I've always wanted to do, but never really had the time until this record to really come up with a concept and try to stitch everything together and put it into a world. I've always loved those records that sound like it's its own listening experience, like prepackaged. So that's what I was striving for. Yeah.
So when you finally figure that out, I mean, what is that world? What is the concept?
I mean, I think I just want to put the listener in the Jeep, really. It's literally starts off with the ignition starting. So for you to hear that right off the bat, and then for it to end with the ignition turning off, I feel like it's just like a nice picture.
Yeah. And it works, by the way. The first time I previewed the whole record, just coincidentally, not knowing anything about that, I was in my car and I was just driving around. And let me tell you, perfect soundtrack. You did it.
That's awesome. Thank you.
And you mentioned the Jeep. We have to bring up the Jeep too, because this is the vehicle that we see in the photos. Tell me about this, because it's very unique looking.
Yeah. I mean, well, first off, jeepneys are public transit buses from the Philippines. Most were like repurposed World War II military jeeps from the US. So the one that I have specifically, that one is from World War II in 1942. It's a 1942 Jeep Willys, brought to the Philippines, converted in 1967 to a bus. And then some landowner in Minneapolis commissioned this thing to come over, and he would give tours of it in his housing development. And that's where I found it eventually on eBay. But yeah, it's a pretty fun story.
Man, World War II, like originally from there, and it gets decked out. It's colorful. And it drives well.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it drives great. I mean, these things were literally designed to be fixed and repaired during a battle or war. So like it's a very interesting object to be working with right now, just like given the politics of the world and the concept in general of like repurposing something from the States and internationally. I feel like that I totally resonate that with my identity. So
yeah. And is this something you could actually like go on adventures with? Do you trust it in that sort of way?
Oh yeah, definitely. So we just did our first experimental sort of sound system pop up with the Jeep. We pulled up to our local internet radio station. It's called Lower Grand here in Oakland, and we just like popped speakers on top of the roof and just tweeted or just posted that we're out. Come listen to the record and some other music. So that was a really fun experiment, but I think I might give less of a heads up because there was a lot of people. It was a lot.
What can you say? You've got a fan base. I don't think that's a secret at this point.
No, it's awesome to see that kind of support. I just want everyone to be safe. So yeah.
It's also sort of the equivalent of the Wienermobile pulling up. Like if I hear the Wienermobile is here, I'm gonna go see it.
Thank you. Yeah.
It's the exact relation I'm sure that you were looking for in this amazing vehicle that you have.
The Oscar Mayer, yeah.
Well, so getting back to the record side of it, before I get too further in, I don't even know where I could have went with that, but you call it Mahal, and here we are talking about this physical object, and when you look up that word for the translation, it seems to be this dual thing because you get this love or beloved, but you also, to me, surprisingly, get the word expensive. And did both of those? Was that all a part of it?
Well, I think I sort of ran with it, knowing that Mahal does mean love and expensive, but like generally, it's kind of just like a highly valued possession, or just highly valued as an adjective. So like I kind of, I ran with that. I think it was sort of a coincidence that I did make such a extravagant purchase for this campaign, but at the same time, it felt like it was just the right time to really just go really hard in the representation of all of this whole project, and trying to really just represent my Filipino side. I've never really paid it that much blatant attention. So it's something I've been wanting to do just for family and for fun, really.
Yeah. So further on that, then, representing your Filipino side, I mean, beyond the Jeep, how does that find itself in the record?
I think the like Filipino like music culture in general is kind of already a mixture of elements and genres as is. It's like a lot of the stuff is like inspired by, like, not my music personally, but like a lot of the stuff that I was listening to, like these hot dog compilations, if you look that up, they're like inspired by like pop disco and J-pop and city pop mixed with like ABBA and American pop. So, and like some Beatles in there. So it's like already from the era that I was trying to pull from, especially like, which is the 70s, the Filipino sound is kind of like already an assimilation of things. So yeah.
Yeah, that 70s thing, it really comes through too. I mean, especially what you're doing on the guitar. It's this crazy, I don't know. I mean, I guess psychedelic is an easy word to use right there. I was listening to the loop, and really prominent on there. I don't, is that guitar part actually recalling something, or does it sound familiar to me? Were you going for anything specific on that? Because it reminds me of something.
Who's it remind you of?
I don't know, and that's why I was hoping you could tell me.
I mean, there's so many. I was listening to a lot of like like Midwestern soul, like Chicago and Detroit, like soul groups, like bands like the Chai Lights or the Chi Lights. I think it's Chai Lights. Or I mean, me personally, I think that guitar part in that song reminds me of like Tim Maya or something.
Yeah, there's that. Maybe it's the I'm almost got the song with it talks about the gangsta lean, and
oh yeah, nice.
Yeah, like there's something in there that I think that's where it's pulling me to. I love it anyway. That's just to say, but that's such a specific style of guitar, a specific style of sounds. Like when did that come up for you?
I think halfway through the record, I knew that I wanted, on all of my records, I try to have some more subdued songs and some more high energy songs. So when it came to like channeling the lower energy sort of vibes, I was pulling more from like soul and funk, like slow ballad type songs. So yeah, a lot of like a lot of that world of trying to think of who else is out there. More American, just American funk and soul before it turned disco. Yeah.
Right, before Bootsy got a hold of it and really took it out there. Speaking of guitar, I mean, you really, right from the beginning, you've got Rueben from Unknown Mortal Orchestra playing too, right?
Yep.
That seems like an easy relationship. What's the story there?
Yeah, I mean, I'm so fortunate to have Rueben on the record again. Like, we actually tracked this song back in 2017 when I was living in Portland, and he came by my house one day and just laid down some stuff. And it's something this record, I've been working on it for about 5 years. So to have him be a part of this one as well as What For feels really like a nice segue. Also, just this record in general is like, to me, like the sister record of What For. Even down to the title, asking what for, and this one being Love, Mahal. So like, I try to link them, just so you know that this isn't just like a phase or anything, but it's just like another side of me where I have this indie rock, this psych rock thing going on, but also this electronic thing. But to keep these two storylines going at the same time is fun.
Yeah, man, I love it when artists do that. I mean, when they bridge the stories together, especially like that. Like,
yeah, it just takes time. It takes like 10 years.
Apparently so. In fact, that's not the only callback. I mean, I say callback. That's not really what I'm getting at here. But Way Too Hot. Like, you actually, this is not the first time that song's been out there, right? What brought that song onto the record?
Exact same reason. I think I wanted to really bring listeners back to this era / sound. And that song was a B-side, and I felt like it always just had like way more potential to be on a record. And you know, that song was from the same era as like Omaha. I don't know if you remember that track, but I decided to leave Omaha off the record because that was a single and it had so much of a life of its own, a video even. I just felt like it was best to just leave it in 2016 and not really tie it to Mahal. So, but I did have so many good songs. I felt like, so I just wanted to grab Way Too Hot and really just like clean it up a little bit more. And it fit with the themes of this record of trying to have multiple musicians on this record. Like Way Too Hot features Tanuki-chan on guitar, and actually my studio mate Brendan Nakahara on drums. No, sorry, another friend. But yeah, I felt like that's just like more of the vibe. I just wanted me jamming with other homies.
It's a nice surprise when you get to that spot, especially if like me, I wasn't paying attention to the track listing. Suddenly things start to sound a little familiar, you know. I think I've heard
that's
this
great.
before.
Yeah. Because it's such I felt like that song is like not as known as others.
Right.
But yeah.
Right. Speaking of songs, the first thing that we got to hear was Postman. And in one sense, you know, it can be a very simple story. I don't know how you meant it to be, but it seems to be this very simple story. And I had this thought in my mind, like, you know, if you're a musician, you know, you hum melodies and they just come out, and suddenly you put, you know, a few little scratch words to it, and maybe that becomes a song. I don't know how often that happens to you, but I wonder, for a song like this, you know, does it come from a small moment that suddenly you have to answer for in a grand conceptual piece during an interview for?
Yeah, you know, I luckily I did consider that, and luckily the song is a little deeper than what it appears. So yeah, I mean, sure. At first glance, it's a silly song about the postman, but really, like, why make a song about the postman? Why follow through with the video? Why push it as a single? I personally feel like I connected with the postman over lockdown and quarantine. I felt like that was something I never really even gave attention to or thought to, because I was just gone most of the time whenever they would come by. So to see this person come by your house and that's the only company or the only person you see throughout your day during the lockdown, that was just a small shout out to the people who are, you know, keeping us running and bringing us our food, our packages throughout the day. It was like, it's a shout out song, but it's also like a song that's showing my support for the postal service, and hopefully it doesn't shut down, because it's a nice system.
Absolutely. I can tell you that for what the reasons you're talking about right now, during the lockdown, I started ordering things that I wanted, but had put on the back burner, just so I could have that moment of feeling of Christmas Day or whatever again, of some kind of connection, you know, every day when the mail arrived.
Yeah. And I felt like this was using this theme as like a vehicle to talk about what's going on now, the pandemic, without even mentioning the pandemic. I feel like is what my goal was like everyone kind of is going to eventually try to talk about the pandemic or COVID, and I just tried to stay away from those words, literally. So like I just wrote around it and just wrote about the feelings. And this song particularly was just like a fun avenue to explore.
Yeah. Is that kind of the similar situation with magazines? Because again, you see that's so hyper focused onto something to tell the bigger picture.
Well, magazine, it is tied to that idea of, getting mail, but it's also, that's even a bigger zoom out where I really just wanted to sort of comment on the digital era and how we are consuming our content. And I have this theory that like vinyl records and CDs are some of the last printed matters that we really cherish, because like books are becoming more, printed literature and is becoming a bit more rare, except for records. That's the only thing that's having like a year-long backup. So like it, to me, I felt like almost branding or marketing this record as a magazine with the barcode on the front and like the giant title, like the small subscript. Like I really feel like that's sort of the themes there that I wanted to just sort of touch on, and is how like a record is kind of like if we approach it more like a book and less like this like streamable, just quick hurry up and eat it up and then on to the next new record kind of thing. Like I really wanted to just make a physical object from the get-go. Like I went into Mahal knowing it's going to be a record. It's going to have an A side and a B side, that kind of thing. So, but if you look at Outer Peace, for example, that was made for the digital age of consumption, and it's made to sort of be this like ADD sort of playlisty vibe.
Yeah, no, it's very, as I was talking about, driving around in the car, it's a very enriching experience. Like, I am held there for that moment. So you pulled that off. And going, right before this, I mentioned a few things outside of the record too, because you did 2 instrumental versions of your first 2 albums to put out there as well. So why, what was the importance of like stripping those just to the instrumental? Like why did you want to do that specifically as full pieces?
This is something I'm hoping to continue to do with all of my 10-year anniversaries. And I feel like I'm a fan of instrumental music. I'm a fan of soundtracks. As a producer and as someone who got even more into music because of sampling and listening to Jay Dilla's instrumentals and stuff like that, I really felt like it allowed me to sort of reveal the curtain a little bit more. And I know it allows the listener to sort of hear or see the process a little deeper, a little more. So like my whole ethos with Toro as a project is to sort of encourage creativity. And so to push that forward is that was the motivation there. It's just like, really, it's for the samplers, the producers, that like, I want them to like hear the grooves without the vocals on it, or like just freestyle on top of something if you're a vocalist or something. So that's why.
Just the many different versions, as you say, of you that you're putting out there. And I'll quickly, before you get off here, hit on the producer side as well, because you did some remixing, of course, with Chaim and Caroline Polachek, which huge fans of both of those. Yeah. And you've been like, are you producing lately on top of getting a record ready? Is that still going on in your world?
I just wrapped up all my projects last week, so I'm chilling this week, as far as my ears go. But yeah, I just wrapped the Uffy record, and that's coming out on Company. And we just wrapped up the next Tanuki-chan record, which I'm pretty excited about. And then I also just wrapped a third record, with another Company artist, Elijah Kessler, who was on Soul Trash. So all of this stuff is finally, coming to a wrap. So it feels good to just start thinking the next steps.
Right. At least put the focus on the album that's being released right now. That's
Exactly, pretty much. Yeah. I was like, I gotta finish the shit before tour.
What's the tour going to look like this time around? Do you conceptualize that as well?
Yeah, I mean, tour is a production, so I try to keep it fairly simple. I don't really see myself going like too big on production or too long on the road, just to sort of, it's just so I'm able to keep up with my own self and all the other things on my plate. So yeah, my plan is just to continue touring, but just like shorter stints, but more often throughout the year, and just try to find a new groove in this new music like arena. It's definitely like everyone's on the road right now, and everyone is also still getting sick. So just trying to like figure that out.
Right. Well, I look forward to seeing a show when it comes around,
Okay,
whenever that happens.
Yeah.
And then hopefully safe and healthy while you're at it too, by the way, out there.
Appreciate
Chaz, thank you so much. Congratulations on Mahal. I love what you do every single time, and it's always a pleasure to get new music from you. And thanks for taking the time to talk about it.
Of course. Thank you.